Hello everybody, this is Doc, and today I'm going to finally be talking about the One Piece live action, the actual release. It's been years of anticipation and it's finally out, and I couldn't be happier to be able to talk about this entire thing. Before we start, I want to really quickly thank everybody for the love and support that went under the trailer reaction video. So yeah, thank you again for all of the love and interactions. And yeah, let's jump into it, I guess. I took my sweet time to be able to make this video. I watched it, I rewatched it, rewatched it, etc. So I went through it a couple of times. Today, I hope I'm going to be able to talk about as many episodes as possible, but yeah, depending on the length of the video, I might cut it out. So it looks like I've been filming for like 52 minutes now. So first of all, I gotta say, it's overwhelmingly positive. I mostly have just positive to say. I might have a few small criticisms here and there, but for the most part, it's overwhelmingly positive again. I'm gonna give it a ranking right now. It's between a 9 to a 9.5 out of 10. Really, it's only a few nitpicks and a few changes that made it, it has this ranking and not a 10 out of 10 for me. I know that they were limited a lot because of like the number of episodes that they had. It was cut from 8 to 10 episodes. So I know there was that happening. There's obviously a budget restriction, even though the budget was huge. They built a lot of practical sets. So, the budget got burned out pretty fast, I would assume. So yeah, but honestly, from the special effects to the sets, the outfits, the casting, the acting, the music, the scripting, the camera work, everything was really, really, really good, and I only have a few criticisms. So let's check all of this out. So episode 1 is fantastic, in my opinion. Especially on a rewatch, it's my favorite episode to rewatch. Because even more so than the very emotional episodes of like Nami's arc, those little very funny and lighthearted stuff, I fucking love it. Honestly, it's impressive what they managed to put in only one episode. Like Roger's execution, Luffy's introduction, Kobe and Alvida's introduction arc, the entire thing at Shellstown, with the Marine base, Morgan, the bar scene, the fights, them escaping, them finding the boat. Like it's there's just so much things going on, and they managed to do it really, really well. And so this makes me quite hopeful for the following of this, series on Netflix. And by that I mean the next seasons we might have. I think that if they're able to kind of compress some of those things together for especially the first episode of each season, I think it can be quite a gain of time. So first episode is really, really good. I'm going to be listing some of the stuff that I liked the most about this episode. So first of all, I think to me in this first episode, especially Emily and Morgan, so the people who played Nami and Kobe, were my favorite actors, I guess, in this first episode. They stole the show completely for me. I think that we didn't get to see much of Nami's acting in the trailer, but here it was absolutely wonderful. She just very naturally flows into the character. And I really, really liked the dynamic that she had with Luffy, as well as just her solo scenes. I think were amazing. And I'm so, so glad that Kobe got to shine. I know a lot of people might be unhappy about how much Kobe and Garp are present in this first season, but I personally really liked it. I think that it made for great TV, the fact that we had these two characters that we kind of go back to almost every episode. And so it kind of gives this one, directing line, and it makes you feel like there's always somebody chasing after Luffy and the Straw Hats. So I think this was a great decision for good TV, and this is pretty much the case about all of the changes that were made, from little additions that they added, like the little Bluetooth thingy, like Den Den Mushi stuff, to bringing Arlong earlier, to as I said, adding Garp to the story. I think it was a really great decision for good TV. So, and honestly, I think it worked out for the best because it's doing really, really well. So everybody seems to be happy. Honestly, I was so surprised to see the overwhelming positive reactions to this live action from the fans to the non-fans, to people who are not familiar at all with like manga or anime. I think it's doing really, really well, and I couldn't be happier about that. So now I got to talk about the music real quick, because if there's one thing that really blew me away with this experience was the music and the sound effects. And this is not just in episode 1, it just goes all the way like throughout the entire season. It's absolutely wonderful. My favorite theme personally was Zora's theme. I just cannot explain the stuff that it makes me feel, but like honestly it's like dark and a little bit haunting, and I think it's absolutely wonderful for his character. And I loved it especially during his fights with Mr. Seven, and as well from, you know, the moment where Iñaki is like, Luffy is, you know, talking to him and ties him, like, de-ties him, I guess, from the cross. And I think that was, music was absolutely phenomenal. And overall, the music is really, really good. It was one of my worries, honestly. From the teaser and trailer, I was not immediately sold on it, but it really, really grew on me, like the main theme and stuff. So honestly, that's really, really good. Amazing job on that. And same for the sound effects. From like the rubber, you know, of Luffy's body to like the swords. I think it really adds into the world. And honestly, I've noticed even little details. I guess I'm kind of jumping to something that happens in episode 2. But for example, during like Luffy's flashback, the moment where he finds the Gomu Gomu, you know, fruit, the little kind of enchanting music that you hear that, you know, makes you feel the stuff that he feels and why he is kind of being attracted to this, you know, safe. And so he goes to it, and you, little by little, you kind of hear the background disappearing, because you had a lot of different background noises from the bar, and like you hear goats in the background, and just it slowly fades into the little fantastic theme for the devil fruit. And I think it's wonderful. It's those little things that you might necessarily not realize on the first watch, but as you rewatch, you realize how like good it's for immersion. So amazing job on that end. Now I gotta talk about the Luffy and Kobe interactions, because these two are so special to me. Obviously, I'm not going to be spoiling anything that happens in the future, but to me, I really, really love their dynamic, and as well, like the kind of parallel that it, you know, makes to a certain pirate with a certain marine that I'm not going to spoil. So yeah, I really love their relationship for that, and just the two of them are really, really precious. And I recently became a Kobe fan ever since new chapter that dropped. Again, not going to be spoiling, but I've been a Kobe fan ever since. So it dropped, like the live action dropped at the perfect time, and I think that they did an amazing job with Kobe's character. They made him even, I think, more likable than he is in the manga, because, you know, in the manga he's like much more of like a child. I mean, he is 17, but he looks much more like a child and acts much more like a child and stuff. And I think that what they did with this character here was really good, and I loved the interactions with Luffy. Like, the slap was absolutely hilarious, and like Luffy's aggressive support is everything to me. I fucking love it. That was really great in this episode. And also, very surprisingly, and this is not just about this episode, but he ended up kind of becoming a show stealer overall, was Helmappo for me. Helmappo was absolutely crazy during this entire season. Like, the development, the goofiness, like his haircut, like absolutely everything is nailed. I love this actor and what he did with the character. I think it's just brilliant. The hair is so silly. I just can't get over that fact. The introduction scene with a little kid at the bar, the acting is so fucking hilarious. I just love how he overreacts, and you straight up, like, in a few seconds, you clearly understand what kind of guy he is. And then the naked scene was a surprise for everybody, I think, but it was hilarious. And honestly, I think the humor in this entire thing was really on point. I really liked the kind of stuff that they went for. I think it's a great kind of digestible type of humor that can kind of fit everybody, you know what I mean? But it still feels kind of uniquely goofy to this universe, because especially with like Luffy specifically, the humor surrounding Luffy is very, very unique to him. You know, like the way he uses his body in a fight, like when he stops Alvida's mace with his head and stuff. Like, this is only something Luffy can do. So I think they did a great job at both having something that is made for everybody, but also having a very unique identity with this humor and the entire scripting in the show. Before I talk about something else, I just want to go back to Helmappo real quick. Because now that I think about it, absolutely every little scene that he was in was absolutely, like, brilliantly made. Like, the little march, you know, when he's marching in the kind of open space of the Marine base to go talk to Zoro, it's fucking stupid. Like, everything that he does is so stupid. Like, when he comes back with the butched haircut and everybody, like, laughs at him and Kobe just punches the shit out of him. This is absolutely wonderful. But anyways, let's continue. So, one of my favorite things about this entire episode was the bar scene. Everything that happened in this bar was wonderfully done. Like, the Kobe and Luffy, you know, conversation with, like, Luffy brings up, like, his stupid ideas. Like, you haven't ever heard something as stupid as, like, yeah, I want to barge in, you know, from the top or whatnot. He just says the stupidest thing. And you can see, like, a Marine in the back noticing their conversation being like, what the fuck? You know, it's kind of funny. I really, really love that. Then obviously, you know, Zoro pulling up with, like, the dead body, you know, putting it next to him. The little kid absolutely was adorable. And then the scene with Helmappo. And the fight was wonderful. I love the choreography. I think it was my favorite fight choreography in the entire show. Really, really, really loved that. And like Kobe freaking out, hiding on the table, Luffy being like, yeah, I like this guy, I like this guy. Absolutely everything was nailed in this entire bar scene. Like Nami kind of being like, no, you're too tall, I don't like you. And she just picks, you know, a random other guy, and you realize it's for his uniform, and then she like knocks his head on the bar. It's wonderfully, perfectly executed, like the way everybody meets in this one place. It doesn't, it doesn't seem weird or, you know, awkwardly made and whatnot, because all of this is kind of new for us as well, One Piece fans, because it's different from the manga. So I think they did a really, really great job with this scene, bringing everybody together. And then there's already the teaser with Kabaji being there, and you quickly see him, and that typically, you know, you probably wouldn't notice him if you're a non-One Piece fan, but if you're a One Piece fan, you clearly see it. That's clearly Kabaji. Like, their haircut is very typical, and he looks exactly like him too. So yeah, that was great. Now I gotta talk about Nami and Luffy, because they had a lot of very adorable interactions already in this first episode, and I fucking love it. Like, it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. And you straight up, like, you jump into it, like, they meet for the first time, and you straight up get to understand their dynamic and how it's going to be between the two of them in the future. Like, them meeting in the map room, hiding behind the shelves and seeing each other. This is so, like, cartoon-like. It really brought me back to my childhood. Same for the things, like, when they were hiding in the little room, and they sneak by the little kind of glass window. It's so cartoon. It's so, like, old comic films, I guess. I don't fucking know, but it really, really brought me back a form of melancholy for some reason. So, yeah, absolutely love those interactions as well. Like, in Morgan's office, when, you know, Nami is kind of talking and Luffy is just goofing around doing whatever, you know, he's looking through the telescope, you know, talking to Nami, and it zooms on her face. And, you know, then there's a safe scene where he just, like, rips it off the ground, and, like, Nami grabs him and stuff. And I really thought it was absolutely adorable. And yeah, I love Nami and Luffy in this episode. I'm going to go a little bit back and forth, kind of all over the place with my points, but I think I want to go back to talking about, like, Alvida, because this was kind of a big change that they made. I mean, at least it seemed for a lot of people. She is quite different from the manga, because, you know, in the manga, she's supposed to be, like, this unattractive lady, I guess, but they made her absolutely gorgeous in the live action, and they kind of went with this direction of, oh, she's obsessed with herself, and she's, like, really, like, girly, like, everything around her is, like, bright pink and stuff, but, like, she's this violent, like, horrible woman. And I really, really love the all of the details, like, from the little, you know, sparkles, like, pink glass stuff in the cannons, to, like, her painted and well-made nails with our makeup. Like, everything is like this, you know, it feels very unusual for pirates, you know, the pink boats. All of this is so, like, stupid and stuff, but I think it works wonderfully. And so it's the first time that when you jump into this episode, you understand, oh, this is not just a pirate story. It's like something entirely new, right? Because with Roger's execution, which was really good, by the way, with Roger's execution, you kind of get the pirate feeling, you know, Pirate of the Caribbean, you know, it's close enough. You get a somewhat graphic scene, I guess, of him being, like, you know, killed. And you get all of this, you get a feel, and then you meet Luffy, you're like, okay, this kid is a bit interesting. And then you jump to meeting Avita, and you're like, yeah, this is typically not a Pirate of the Caribbean situation. It's a completely new and crazy, colorful universe. And to talk about the execution scene of Roger, I'm all over the place, as I've said. First of all, the bounty thing, one of the best ideas they had. I don't know who had this idea, if it was like the showrunners, the people in the script, or if it was the people editing the series, the show. Whoever had this idea, thank you for making the show like 12% better. 12, that's random. For making the show even better, because this is absolutely brilliant and genius, honestly. But yeah, so Roger's execution, I really, really liked it. Especially, I liked some of the foreshadowing. I mean, foreshadowing is like the hinting at Garp and Roger kind of knowing each other somewhat, you know, them like very casually talking, and, you know, Garp being like, hey, like, I warned you, like, about this entire thing. Garp was great as well. Love his accent. I had to say this. But yeah, I really, really like this. The only thing I think that was maybe slightly underwhelming to me was Roger's talk, because you know how he is very high up on this stage of execution. When he talked, when he was communicating like his big moments, like talk, I felt like he wasn't really talking that loud, and I couldn't really understand how everybody heard him. And to be honest, I would have almost preferred if they went a direction where you could really feel like he was trying to hype them up, almost like a commander. Like, I wanted almost like an Irwin type of motivational, you know, conversation, like really him like screaming and being like, yeah, like really like showing that energy, which I guess is very different from like the original material. But to me, in this context, it would make more sense, because at least for everybody to be able to hear him, because I felt like it was a bit underwhelming the way he delivered the lines. And then everybody started like running and stuff, and you're like, oh, what got them so excited? Like, sure, the stuff he was saying was interesting, but I felt like the energy was maybe lacking a little bit. But that's just me. I never heard anybody complain about this, so it might just be me. And so also I really liked Zoro's introduction and how it teased the Baroque works and all of this, and just the entire, you know, scene was pretty neat. And so in episode 1, we started to have Luffy's flashback. The reason why I haven't talked about it, and I'm going to jump to episode 2 without talking about it, is because I want to kind of stack everything together during episodes 2 review, since we get the end of the flashback. It was kind of sparse amongst the 2 episodes, which was really, really well made in my opinion. So yeah, I want to talk about it all at once at this moment. So let's jump into episode 2. So the first episode ended with this teaser about like Buggy the Clown, which was absolutely wonderful. Jeff Ward, amazing performance as Buggy. I think everybody loved him. And so with episode 2, it's just so funny to me that Buggy became such a show stealer for so many people. He's all over the internet. There are so many edits of him. People who haven't even watched the live action, who don't even know One Piece, have seen images and edits of Buggy the Clown, because he's just become so popular. And I think I kind of saw that coming to a certain extent, because I know that people love that type of character, like chaotic clowns character. I guess they're pretty popular in fiction. So when I first saw the trailer, I mean, I think it was in the teaser maybe, with Buggy the Clown, and I saw, you know, we first had this first image of Jeff as Buggy, and I knew it was going to be just absolutely fantastic. And so I'm glad that it delivered to like even a greater extent that I expected it to be. And the fact that Buggy the Clown is stealing the show, it's literally on brand with his character. Again, I'm not going to be spoiling too much of what he does in the future, but let's just say he just keeps falling upward. You know, he's just like, he is the CEO of fraud. So it's really, really funny that he steals the show for a lot of people. And to be completely honest, when there was the first logo change of, you know, the One Piece logo with Buggy's colors, I really thought that it was only going to be for him and that he literally just hijacked the logo, which was pretty funny, but it ended up not being the case. But it's still what I felt the first time that I watched it, since it was the first logo change. So that was pretty funny too. With Buggy, oh, what to say? Absolutely so much to say. Okay, so let's start with the entire introduction within the circus tent. This was exactly like what I imagined and wanted. I had talked about it during a session of Opla Banquet with Desnis Tador on his channel and stuff. Talked about this, and I was saying that, yeah, I want to see dancers everywhere. I want to see really, you know, bring that circus feel. And I think it was the best way to be able to bring to life this idea of a crazy pirate clown. Because when you think about it, it's insane. Like, it's so far from anything that we see in pirate stories that you really need to go full out on it to be able to bring it to life. So actually putting him in a circus from the beginning was the best decision you could ever make, in my opinion. This was absolutely brilliantly made. I loved all of the people who did, like, were doing, like, acrobacies, like, whatever, you know, like, jumping around, throwing, like, fire and stuff. That was really, really good. As well, I really liked what they did with Buggy's character, just overall. They made him an even better villain, because with Buggy, he is, for a lot of people, he is more of, like, someone who grows on you, right? Because we see him multiple times in the story and he gets better every time, and he gets a little bit of development every time. But here they use knowledge that they had of what goes on later into the story, and they brought it here. And it's even funny because here he talks about the One Piece, wanting the One Piece, and he talks about certain things regarding to Shanks and stuff, and those things we don't hear about it until very, very, very recent chapters. Plain. We don't hear about it until very, very recent chapters. And when I say recent chapters, I'm talking chapters that were made like way after it was filmed and, you know, even scripted. So I really wonder how that kind of happened. If it's just kind of a deduction that, you know, the showrunners and the people who scripted were able to make, like Steven and Matt. So I wonder if it's this or Oda that gave them these informations. Yeah, who knows? But I really love what they did. You can really feel how deranged he is, like the trauma that he has, you know, how he talks about Shanks. You can definitely feel that he is a very hard and like pitiful person, and you feel bad for him to a certain extent, and you understand where he's coming from, you know, him like looking for, like searching this validation and love. And again, I don't want to, you know, spoil too much, but I know from the history that he has on, you know, with Shanks and the crew that they were in and stuff, and I know where this lack of love that he had growing up and you know, how he didn't feel maybe validated most of the time. I know where that comes from, you know, as a fan. So it was wonderful seeing those deeper sides of him brought into the story so early on. And I think that they did a great job of still making him goofy and funny, and all of this merging in together really, really well. Like, you know, so many serious stuff was happening with him. You see the parallel of like Luffy's flashback with him drowning in the cube, and you feel how traumatic this entire thing must be. And then you have like Buggy getting angry and kind of trying to punch water cube, and he hurts his fist. This just works because it's him, you know what I mean? And I think it was not something that was probably easy to kind of bring up, but thanks to the excellent, wonderful script, the special effects, you know, Buggy's like actors acting, I think all of this was brought to life absolutely wonderfully, and they nailed to the T Buggy's character. And I love Luffy with all of my heart, you know, he's my favorite character, but if Buggy finds the One Piece first, I'm not going to be mad, not gonna lie to you. So what I really like in the second episode, we kind of start to establish the dynamics and the relationship of the crew together. So like Nami, Luffy, Zoro, right? And I really like the way it was made, especially, we focus in this entire, show, since it's only 8 episodes, we focus a lot on duos. Like, we don't really see that much of the crew bonding, like, all together, but it's, it works by twos usually. So here, I feel like in this episode, we got a lot of Nami and Zoro, the establishment of their relationship, because they're going to continue building upon it in this first season. And I think it was a great idea, because when I think of iconic duos in One Piece, I think of like Zoro Luffy, Luffy Usopp, Sanji Zoro, Nami Usopp, but I don't think of Nami Zoro. It's not something that I think about, but they really have, when you think about it, stuff that you can kind of hear them each other's on. And even though they bickered a lot in this episode, I think it was a great thing that they decided to focus on their relationship this first season of the adaptation, especially because they're the first two Nakama with Luffy, so it makes sense that they would want to focus the two of them bonding together, and I think they did a really, really great job with this. I heard that apparently some people saw like a romantic aspect to this. No, like I never saw this at all. Like, compared to something like, I'm jumping ahead a bit, but compared to something like Kaya and Usopp, like what they did with Kaya and Usopp, and like, we clearly get a clear hint that they're going into this direction from like the very beginning, where like, Zoro asks like, oh, like, is she your girlfriend and whatnot? And even like him seeing Kaya for the first time, you can see like his eyes like shining and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is where it's going, with Nami and Zoro, I never felt this, not even a second. And I knew also that Oda asked them to, not put any romance between the Straw Hats, and that it was already something that like Matt and Steven knew and agreed on. So yeah, to me, I never saw it, but yeah. Anyways, as a friendship and as them kind of getting to trust each other, I think it was really well made, in this second episode is a great foundation to that. As well, Luffy and Zoro's relationship evolved in this episode. You don't really see much of them interacting. I think maybe that was a bit of a waste, but it's in this episode that you hear Zoro kind of talk about how he starts to not trust, but like want to follow Luffy for real. In the latest episode, he was like, we're not a crew and whatnot. And here, with the talk he has with Kabaji, he's like, I don't need to trust Luffy. He has trust in himself and stuff. And you can kind of start to see his opinion of him and their bond kind of shifting in his mind. And this was pretty cool, I think. And by the way, talking about Kabaji, this is one of the changes that I think was really cleverly done. They tried to really interconnect absolutely everything. Having somebody in Buggy's crew having some history with one of the Straw Hats was a great idea, because obviously there's like Buggy, the history he has with Shanks, and so Luffy now has his hat, so there's a bit of disconnection. But since they decided to kind of separate the two, so Luffy was dealing with Buggy and whatnot, and then Nami and Zoro were on their own side, I think it was an interesting kind of a choice and decision to have Kabaji have history and beef with Zoro. It just kind of continued on showing like Zoro's character and him being like previously like this cold demon like pirate hunter and stuff, because it's true that we never really delve into this in the manga, right? He changes his mind pretty quickly when he's on the grass. He's like tied up and Luffy is like, you want to join my crew? And it doesn't take him a long time to be able to convince Zoro. And so we move on pretty quickly from this entire pirate hunter thing. But I think like with the fight with Mr. Seven and then with this entire Kabaji situation, I think it really did a great job at kind of building this past that Zoro had. And, it's not necessarily something that I thought about before. With Zoro, I never asked myself, why is he a pirate hunter? But I think that in the way that it's portrayed here, it makes you feel like he has almost not necessarily given up on his dream of being the world's like greatest swordsman, but he kind of lost track of it, and he was just doing whatever to pass time and be able to, eat and whatnot. And he was not thinking about the best way to achieve his goals and what he wanted to do. It was kind of maybe he not necessarily like lost hope, but he was not in the best place in his mind. I felt that with his character in episode 1 and then 2, etc. And so yeah, it's great to see him kind of evolve and open up throughout the entire season, and smiling more and being more present with the crew and us. And so yeah, they really did Zoro's character justice. So I want to talk about something really quick, because Luffy was always like kind of a difficult conversation to have when people were trying to think about the One Piece live action. How would they be able to adapt Luffy? And one of the main things that I noticed in this live action is how he seems a bit smarter, a bit quicker on his feet. There are a few scenes especially that really sold me this idea. The barrel scene, first of all, him drowning and like straight up having the idea of knocking the barrel over to empty what it contained and hiding in it to be able to protect himself from water. This was pretty smart, and it was like a very quick reaction. Same for the map scene in the second episode. Him like hiding it by like soling it and whatnot. This was pretty smart again, and very quick reactions that he has. And I think it was a very great way to adapt it, because Luffy is a very typically manga-like character. He is peak of what manga is. He is the type of character, he's the type of archetypes where if you like it, you're like, yeah, this is why I love manga. And this is why I love him so much as a character as well, is because he's so different from like anything human, really. This is the entire thing of his character. And they couldn't like completely take that away from his character in the live action, because he is supposed to feel greater than life. He's supposed to feel like completely out of this world, in a way where he's like, nobody has this much optimism and nobody is like this Luffy, So I think it was a matter of finding kind of the balance and making him not completely stupid. I think was a great idea. The fact that he is kind of intuitive and very impulsive, and so with that can come very great ideas that really, being quick on his feet again, I think was a great way to kind of make all of this make sense to a more digestible format of Luffy, because I don't think he is Luffy. Like, the live action Luffy is Luffy. He's just Luffy in real life. Because at the end of the day, even if One Piece is really well made and it's a story that functions perfectly, it's still manga, and it works for manga. It's supposed to be crazy. And everything is possible in manga, especially in One Piece's world, in the world that Oda created. But when you bring that to life, you have to translate it a bit different. It's a translation. It's not like a different character. And this is what Oda talked about, when he was saying that when he first had the script, he felt like some of the lines didn't really sound like Luffy. But when he got to see Iñaki act, he was like, yeah, this is him. And this is exactly what it is about. It's, if you would read the scripts without any context, without the show, you would be like, yeah, that's a bit odd. But once you see it in action, when you see Iñaki embodying perfectly, Luffy, I think it's really great. They found a perfect way to encapsulate Luffy's character. They found his essence, and from the people who scripted the show to the directors to Iñaki, everybody really found this perfect like sweet spot for Luffy. So yeah, this is one of the changes that I think was the best that they could have made. So let's talk about Luffy's flashback, because I still haven't talked about it. So I really liked it overall. I think it was great. I really liked Colton's acting as Little Luffy. I think it was pretty effective. I think some of my favorite scenes with him were when he was talking to Shanks, and he was kind of trying to seem tough and stuff, and he made that face for the kind of face he wanted to have on his wanted poster. I think that was absolutely adorable. I loved as well the last scene of him getting the hat from Shanks. I think he was absolutely adorable. Like, seeing him cry and tear up, I was like, oh no, I think he did a really, really great job. And I really liked overall just all of the child actors in this show. I think they did a really great job. It was awesome, honestly. And yeah, so this entire flashback was great. I think one of the main thing I really wanted them to nail was Shanks's crew, like in the way they feel, in the sense because Shanks' crew, oh, even though we don't see a lot of them, if there's one clear thing about them is how you can feel like the mood. You can feel like how they're great people, how, you just like to party, and it feels great, right? So I really wanted them to be able to bring this energy to the live action. And I think they did a great job. I like Peter as Shanks. It really grew on me. I think I really, really like him. He just feels like a nice guy. And you see in his face that he is a nice guy. And I'm really curious to see how he's able to act for the future of the series when we see Shanks as like more of this serious person, I guess, because I'm not going to spoil again, but let's just say that he is supposed at times to have a more commanding presence. He is, a person of stature. So I think, well, we do see a bit of him at the very last episode, in episode 6, and he was not in the best kind of spot, he was hungover and stuff, but you still felt a little bit of a change, especially in his confidence and like the way he, held himself. When he was talking to Mihawk, he still felt very confident in this flashback, obviously because with the entire thing with Higuma, it was really well made, I think. How he explained to Luffy, like, oh, the fact that you want me to hit the guy and be violent is the proof that you're not ready to be on our crew, you're not ready to be a pirate. I think that was really well made. By the way, Higuma, I think, was perfect. I really liked the actor, and I really liked even like the small kind of like lines he had, like when he was on the little dinghy with Luffy, and Luffy was saying, oh, Shanks is gonna make you hope you were never alive, and Higuma was like, well, it's already kind of the case, I already wished I wasn't born. And I was like, this is very unexpected, but honestly I loved it. And even some other characters like Makino. Yeah, Makino, we don't really get a whole lot of her in the manga and the anime, but I really love what they did here. She, not going as far as saying that she's a mom figure, I think she has, I like her lines, I like the way she tries to talk to Luffy, and how everybody seemed to care for this little kid who hasn't, doesn't have parents and stuff. Yeah. About Shanks' crew too, I have to say, I loved Yasop. I think Yasop kind of stole the show a little bit with this flashback. I really loved him in the fighting scene. That was absolutely wonderful, and I think it was a great idea to give him more screen time, and because we're going to be meeting Usopp next in the next arc, so I think it was a great decision to show his dad more in the flashback, so that you could kind of think of, oh yeah, this is this guy that we saw multiple times in the flashbacks. I really liked him. I think he had a great energy, and it made me feel even more bad for Usopp. I'm really sorry. That is trash. That's too bad. But yeah, I really liked Lukiru as well. I think he was fun to watch. He was pretty enjoyable. I know a lot of people complain about Ben Beckman. I don't think a lot of people brought up his age, the fact that he seemed pretty old. Ben is old. He's just old. That's it. I don't think this is a problem. Personally, I've seen pictures of the actor outside of his role, like just in everyday, and I think he has a great, face. He has a great everything. He could have been great for Ben. I think the wig was the problem, but something was a little bit off. Like Ben is supposed to be like a bit charismatic. He's supposed to be like a seducer and whatnot. He's supposed to be, with the ladies and stuff. And I didn't really get any of that. To be fair, he just doesn't have a lot of lines either. We mostly, put the focus on Yasop for Usopp, as I said. So I'm not particularly mad because it's just Ben. We never see him anyways. I know a lot of people think he's like, some crazy level and stuff, which he probably is, but honestly, I don't think it's the biggest problem, and it's definitely something that he could try to get better with the next seasons if we ever see him again. Because, yeah, he's a very minor character for now, so I'm fine with it. It's no big deal. So something else with a little nitpick, I guess, from the flashback was with the scene where Luffy, stabs himself in the face. I felt like on the first watch especially, I felt like there wasn't enough build up of him kind of getting angry and then getting to stabbing himself. Because stabbing yourself in the face, it's not something that everybody has experienced, And I know Luffy is supposed to be a little crazy. But I felt like they could have done a better build-up to this ultimate moment, because he is, like, arguing for, like, 2 seconds with Shanks, and he's like, you're gonna see how I'm not afraid to be hurt. And he just goes away, and then Shanks and his crew, like, talk, and then you see him, like, up on the boat, and he's like, Shanks! And he just stabs himself. And I'm like, okay, that felt a little bit flat. But it's more of a nitpick. It's a small detail. But it did strike me a little bit the first time that I watched it, to be honest. And the Lord of the Coast. So much happens in this flashback. So, the Lord of the Coast, first of all, I really like the CGI. I gotta say, the CGI in this entire show is fantastic. I love the devil fruits. I love absolutely everything. The beast of the Coast, wonderful. I really loved the growling, the sound that it makes, the build up to it. That was a great build up. You see the boat from sky view, and you see it turning around the boat. That is terrifying. I'm never going into the sea again. But yeah, this is absolutely terrifying. And then the entire scene with the Shanks, losing his arm and then scaring away the beast was a little bit underwhelming. But to be honest, I think this is the kind of stuff that is very manga-like. Out of all of the iconic scenes in this first, like, saga, this is the most manga-like moment. I mean, Shanks being like, go away, and like focusing like that, trying to scare the beast. This is like very, very much manga. I think they did the best that they could to adapt that. I've talked to a few people who were not familiar with One Piece and watched the show, and nobody brought up this moment as like being awkward or anything like that. So maybe it was more awkward for us just because it is such an iconic moment in the manga. But yeah, to be honest, I like Carlton, again, little Luffy's actor, his reaction to Shanks losing his arm and stuff. I think he had a great reaction that made you feel the importance of the moment. So I felt like this moment is obviously supposed to be important for Luffy, but it's also supposed to be important for Shanks' character. And I feel like it showed us more of Luffy than Shanks. And to be completely honest, because at this moment in the flashback, there was the parallel with him being, like, Luffy being in Buggy's, like, water cube and whatnot. And so with the parallel of him drowning in both scenes, in the sea and then in the water cube, I felt like the focusing on him drowning that part felt almost more traumatic than the beast scene. So yeah, that felt almost more traumatic. By the way, really great parallel. I really loved what they did with the, back and forth within the past and the present. That was brilliant. I think that was really, really well made. So shout out to the editors and whoever had this kind of idea. I think that was really good. So it looks like I've been filming for like 52 minutes now. So I might stop the video there and make the rest of the season, hopefully. I don't know if I can do 3 to 8 in one go. I hope I can. But yeah, that was pretty much it for this video. I really, really loved it. I want to know everybody's opinion on it. It feels completely surreal. I still cannot believe, like, sometimes I was watching the show, even on a rewatch, and I'm like, I'm seeing, like, Luffy and Kobe, and I'm like, hold on. And then I pause, and I'm like, this is actually crazy. I'm watching One Piece in real life. I'm like, this is insane. And I think I still haven't really fully realized what is happening, even though it's doing really well in the entire world and stuff. I'm like, I cannot really realize what is happening. I think I really have to wait months before I probably can realize what the fuck is going on. But I'm so happy to be a One Piece fan. We're so lucky to have this. Like, it's a once in history kind of deal, because there is no way, even though the future of live action adaptations is looking brighter from this point on, I don't think we're ever going to get something on the level of One Piece, just because One Piece's scope is already out of this world, from the universe to the actual fact that it's like the most popular manga, right? So there's just no way we ever get something on this level, in my opinion. So it's a once in a lifetime. I feel like I'm watching history, being made. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but yeah. Anyways, I would love to see everybody's opinion, and I can't wait to share the following of my thoughts about this entire thing. So yeah, really glad you watched the video, and if you're interested in some of my work, I make manga and webtoon. You can check that out. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.